Hello and welcome to a reading and analysis of William Shakespeare's Hamlet. Today we start Act 2. So Act 2, Scene 1 is a shorter scene, one of the shortest scenes in the play, and it's really divided into two conversations. They're both interesting in their own way, but they have something in common, and that is Polonius being a busybody and meddling. So let's dive into 2-1, shall we? Okay, so we meet a new character. This is Reynaldo, not the football player, but similar sounding name. So Reynaldo is a servant for Polonius, and Polonius is sending him on an espionage mission to go spy on his son, Laertes. So Polonius says, "Give him this money and these notes, Reynaldo." "I will, my lord." "You shall do marvelous wisely, good Reynaldo, before you visit him to make inquire of his behavior." "My lord, I did intend it." So Reynaldo knows what's up. He knows the sort of things he's tasked with by Polonius, who, as we mentioned earlier, is the chief advisor to King Claudius. So he builds his advice through years of spying and surveillance. So before Reynaldo runs into Laertes, he needs to try and figure out what he's been up to. "Marry, well said, very well said. Look you, sir, inquire me first what danskers are Danes, are in Paris, and how and who, what means, and where they keep, what company, at what expense, and finding by this encompassment and drift of question that they do know my son, come you more nearer than your particular demands will touch it." So a lot of things he wants to find out about the people in Paris, the Danish people in Paris. And he gives this list of information, or list of questions that Reynaldo needs to ask them. Why are they there? Who are they? What are their means? Where are they living? What company do they keep? What do they spend money on? And then if any of them happen to know Laertes, you have to get even more info out of them. "Take you as 'twere some distant knowledge of him, and thus I know his father and his friends, and impart him." Do you mark this, Reynaldo? "Aye, very well, my lord." So he's now giving Reynaldo the script. He's saying, pretend you kind of know who Laertes is, and say some sort of line like, "I kind of know him and his father," like something to get the conversation going. "Do you mark this, Reynaldo?" "Aye, very well, my lord." "And impart him." So he picks back up that previous line, "and impart him." He interrupts himself to make sure Reynaldo's listening. "And impart him, but," you may say, "not well. But if it be he, I mean, he's very wild, addicted, so and so. And there, put on him what forgeries you please. Marry, none so rank as may dishonor him, take heed of that. But, sir, such wanton, wild, and usual slips as our companions noted and most known to youth and liberty." So he tells Reynaldo to, when he finds people who know Laertes, to pretend that he knows him and talk about Laertes as having some bad qualities about him, but none that are so rank, right? So vile. Rank is like bad and vile. That they would be dishonoring to him, right? Nothing so detailed that it would throw off his reputation. Just something to insinuate that you also know the sort of bad things that Laertes is up to. So he says, just the usual things that young people get into. Reynaldo says, "As gaming, my lord." So he's talking about gambling. He's like, "Oh, I could talk about his like gambling," right? Which gambling is obviously an issue, and can be a terrible addiction. But if it is just some casual going and gambling, maybe it's not seen societally as the worst possible thing to do. So Reynaldo suggests it like, "Oh, like he gambles a little bit." "Aye." So aye, yes. "Or drinking, fencing, swearing, quarreling, drabbing." You may go so far. Now, drabbing is dealing with prostitutes. So we've really elevated the sins, societally speaking, here against Laertes that Reynaldo is supposed to spread rumors about in order to get information. And Reynaldo interjects. He says, "My lord, that would dishonor him," right? Like we say he does all those things, that would dishonor him. "Faith, no, as you may season it in the charge." So like the way you put a little seasoning in there, the way you explain it. "You must not put another scandal on him that he is open to inconstancy. That's not my meaning. but breathe his faults so quaintly that they may seem the taints of liberty. So quaintly there means cunningly, and taints of liberty is slight faults that accompany independence. So just those sort of things people do when they are out on their own for the first time. The flash and outbreak of a fiery mind, savageness and unreclaimed blood, of general assault. So these are universal missteps. And you can see that Polonius is suspicious of everyone. He thinks everyone gets up to this sort of something. And everyone does do something wrong, but not all the stuff Polonius is seeming to suggest that they do. So he's like, yeah, just keep it vague. But my good lord, wherefore should you do this? I, my lord, I would know that. Marry, sir, here's my drift of plan. And I believe it is fetch a wit, which is a clever trick. You laying these slight sullies on my son, as 'twere a thing a little soiled in the working. Mark you, your party in converse, so the people you're talking to, him you would sound, having ever seen in the prenominant crimes the youth you breathe of guilty, be assured he closes with you in this consequence. So this is like a really detailed, this is why this part of the scene is a little tricky. It's a really detailed plan. So he's saying there, the clever trick is once you found someone who kind of knows Laertes, and you've sprinkled in these rumors of these things that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, make sure when you talk to them that you end with this, that he talks to you like this: good sir, or so, or friend, or gentleman, according to the phrase or the addition of man and country. Very good, my lord. And then, sir, does he this? He does. What was I about to say? Now, by the mass, I was about to say something. Where did I leave? So you see, Polonius is such a long-winded, wordy character that he forgets where he was even going with this. He's got so much to say. At closes in the consequence. At friend or so and gentleman. At closes in the consequence. I, Mary. He closes thus. I know the gentleman. I saw him yesterday, or the other day, or then, with such or such. And as you say, there was he gaming. There o'ertook he is in his, so overtook in his rouse. There falling out at tennis, or perchance I saw him enter a house of sale, videlict a brothel, or so forth. So these are like the hypothetical things that the person Reynaldo is talking to might respond with, that by planting these seeds of like, oh yeah, that Laertes guy and the sort of stuff he gets up to, gambling and swearing and going to brothels and stuff, that the person who knows Laertes that they want to get information out of will be like, oh yeah, I saw him the other day do this or do that or do that. And it's kind of funny that the sins are so ridiculously all over the place. Like we have going to brothels, or we have getting angry at tennis or at a game of bowling. Or so forth. See you now, your bait of falsehood. Take this carp of truth, and thus do we of wisdom and of reach, with wild lasses and with assays of bias, by indirections find directions out. So he's talking about what it means to discover information from people. And interestingly here, that windlasses and bias is the indirect approaches, a windlass being an indirect course in hunting, the bias being the curve that brings the ball to the desired point in the game of bowls. So the game of bowls, I have a picture in the Folger edition. You can see there, if I can get the camera to, there it is. I don't really know how to describe it. It's not quite like bowling, how we think of it. But rolling balls into holes, I guess. And if there's a curve that takes the ball to that one particular spot, it's called the bias, which is interesting because we all know biases in like our belief system or how we talk about things. But I didn't know that was the origin of that word. It's very interesting. So anyway, I'm being a bit of a Polonius here, getting too into this. By indirections, find directions out. So by my former lecture and advice shall you, my son. You have me, have you not? My lord, I have. God be with you. Fare you well. Good, my lord. Observe his inclination in yourself, which means you be the one to find all this out. Don't have someone else do it. I shall, my lord. And let him ply his music, meaning reveal what he's been up to. Well, my lord, farewell. Reynaldo exits. So I went through this kind of slowly because I think it's confusing, and I hope that helped clarify some stuff. But the really big thing to get out of this is that Polonius is a busybody. He told his son, this above all else, to thine own self be true. And like, I don't know, the next day after his son goes back to France, he sends someone out there to spy on him. Right. And we could think of going to France kind of like going to college, right? Like you're going to college and your father is sending out hired servants to see what you've been up to and talk to people who might know you. It's kind of extreme behavior, but that's Polonius for you. He is not a trusting person. And the second half of this scene, plot-wise, is more important and a little easier to follow. Very interesting. But the second half of this scene has him dealing with his other child, Ophelia. And we'll see again this thought of kind of meddling in other people's affairs. So enter Ophelia. How now, Ophelia? What's the matter? Oh, my lord, I have been so affrighted. With what, in the name of God? My lord, as I was sewing in my closet. So closet is a personal chamber. Think of it like bedroom, not like that spot you keep your coats. My lord, as I was sewing in my closet, Lord Hamlet, with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, his stockings fouled, ungartered and down-geaved to his ankle, pale as his shirt, his knees knocking each other, and with a look so piteous and purport, as if he had been loosed out of hell, to speak of horrors, he comes before me. So this is a brilliant bit of offstage action. We are not seeing Hamlet interact with Ophelia. We are just hearing about it from Ophelia's perspective, which I think makes it even funnier and more ridiculous because the description it's a lot. To walk through this, she's sewing in her closet. Hamlet comes in. He's got his doublet, which is this vest that you would wear very tight, and it's unbuttoned, which you wouldn't usually be wearing out and about back then. A doublet unbuttoned. He doesn't have a hat on his head, which I guess is a big deal. And his stockings, which would be socks-like things pulled up to like your knees, are all the way down on his ankles, down-gived like chains that you would wear on your ankles is what it's describing there. And then he is pale as his shirt, I assuming a white shirt. His knees are knocking together, and he has a look so piteous that it seems the purpose of it is like been loosed out of hell itself. That is quite a way to make an entrance. And what we must be asking ourselves is, why is Hamlet acting this way? And if you remember 1:5, the very end of that scene, there's a 2-word phrase that could potentially explain why Hamlet is acting this way. Do you remember it? It is his antic disposition that he is putting on, right? Pretending to be crazy so that no one can tell what he's up to. And you'll notice from this scene that the only people who know about his antic disposition are Marcellus, Horatio, and us, the audience. His girlfriend, Ophelia, has not been made privy to this decision to act insane, which, to give a little bit of relationship advice here, probably not the right way to go about pretending to be crazy, not disclosing that to your significant other. Anyway, there's more to the scene. Mad for thy love, my lord, I do not know, but truly I do fear it. What said he? He took me by the wrist and held me hard. So like firmly grabs her wrist. Then goes he to the length of all his arm. So he's holding her by the wrist, but with his arm fully extended this way, which is not how you hold something or someone that you want to hold on to, right? That's not a strong, it's like a ridiculous thing, not a strong position to hold on. So fully extending his arm, holding her by the wrist. And with his other hand, thus o'er his brow, so his hand is over his brow, he falls to such a perusal of my face as he would draw it. So he studies her face like he would draw it. So he's holding her here with his arm all the way out, and he's like looking at her in a way like he would be drawing her face. So very, very carefully. Long stayed he so. So he does that for a while. If it's not weird enough to do it for a couple beats, is very weird. At last, a little shaking of mine arm. So he shakes her arm a little bit, and thrice his head, thus waving up and down, his head up and down 3 times. And he raised a sigh so piteous and profound as it did seem to shatter all his bulk and end his being. I'm not going to demonstrate that for you, but basically a sigh that is so big it seems like it is going to destroy him. That done, he lets me go, and with his head over his shoulder turned, he seemed to find his way without his eyes, for out of doors he went without their helps, and to the last bended their light on me. So then he walks out of the room, staring at Ophelia the whole time. So basically walking backwards. He's like walking away, but he's not taking his eyes off of Ophelia, and just kind of maneuvering his way out of the room, never taking his eyes off of her. How would you interpret that? Obviously, it would be disturbing. And that's why Ophelia is going to her father to get his advice on it. I don't think when we read 3:1, where Polonius says, Mary, think yourself a baby, and she says, I shall obey my lord. I don't think she is fully, I guess there's productions that might play it as Ophelia fully obedient to her father, but I tend to see it as she is not happy about what Polonius has told her, and maybe wouldn't be running to him every single time there's an interaction with Hamlet. But the interaction is so bizarre that she goes to her father and reports what happened. And he's going to propose a theory. Come, go with me. I will go seek the king. This is the very ecstasy of love, whose violent property foredoes itself and lends the will to desperate undertakings as oft as any passions under heaven that does afflict our natures. Talk of natures again. So this is love causing all this. I'm sorry. What? Have you given him any hard words of late? No, my good lord, but as you did command, I did repel his letters and denied his access to me. So she's like, I haven't met with him. I haven't answered his letters, and I haven't met with him personally since we talked. That hath made him mad. Mad here meaning insane, not angry. I mean, I guess maybe angry, but the anger is not the thing we're talking about. It's the insanity. I am sorry that with better heed and judgment I had not codded him, which means observed. So basically spied on him. I'm sorry I didn't observe him more. So Polonius's solution to everything is more surveillance, more watching people. I feared he did but trifle and meant to rack thee. Rack there meaning destroy. But beshrew my jealousy, which is curse my suspicious thoughts. By heaven, it is as proper to our age to cast beyond ourselves in our opinions, as it is common for the younger sort to lack discretion. So he talks about how older people mess up just as like younger people. He's like, young people don't have discretion. Older people sometimes cast too far, which could be like a fishing imagery, like casting a net, but it could also mean cast back then could mean like a plan or a device. Come, go we to the king. This must be known, which being kept close might move more grief to hide than hate to utter love. Come, which more grief to hide than hate to utter love means this love might cause more grief if hidden than hatred if told about. So he believes the best course of action is to disclose this information to the king, Claudius, who is, of course, the person that Hamlet is most suspicious of in the world. And according to him, the whole reason he's putting this antic disposition on to begin with. And now Ophelia has talked to her father, and her father, Polonius, is going to go talk to Claudius about it. And we'll see how that is interpreted by Hamlet in the next couple scenes. Hey, real quick, interesting. Do you know when the first chatbot was ever made? Any guesses? It was actually the 1960s, and it was named after Eliza Doolittle in the play Pygmalion. Just released a video this morning that covers what you should read in the age of AI. This is a personal area of interest for me, and I've got some awesome reviews in there. Ted Chiang, Exhalation, Philip K. Dick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Atlas of AI, can't read backwards, Atlas of AI by Kate Crawford. Some awesome reviews in there. A video I poured a lot of hours into, and I think is pretty good. It's doing pretty well right now, but if you're at all interested in it, the link is in the description. Love for you to check it out. And as always, you can get 10% off an order of field notes. Helps out the channel, gets you a great notebook. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any notes, because I'm not close to my computer with this setup, I need to redo this setup. But if you have any notes that you've left I'm going to try and be better at looking at the screen every once in a while and not just focused on the play, but I will stay on off camera to answer those in a little bit here. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in 2-2. Happy reading.